Barbra Streisand's life has never been defined solely by the stage or screen. While her six-decade career as a singer, actress, and director has earned her global acclaim, Streisand has also proven that true legacy extends beyond artistic achievement. What makes her story remarkable is not only the power of her voice in music, but the power of her voice in shaping social change. By using her platform to advocate for women's heart health and to challenge financial inequities in Hollywood, she has redefined what it means to be a cultural icon. Streisand's commitment to advocacy is neither symbolic nor temporary. It is deliberate, sustained, and transformative. In doing so, she has set a new standard for how celebrities can wield influence responsibly, creating institutions, inspiring conversations, and mentoring the next generation. Her journey shows that fame is not just about recognition, but about responsibility, and that the truest measure of greatness lies in the impact one leaves behind. A voice that defined generations, Barbra. Joan Streisand, born April 24, 1942, in Brooklyn, New York, has lived a life and career unlike any other. Rising from humble beginnings to international stardom, she broke barriers in music, film, and theater while earning the rare distinction of winning Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony Awards. Known for her powerhouse voice, distinctive stage presence, and fearless ambition, Streisand built a career that spanned more than 6 decades, redefining what it meant to be a female star in Hollywood. While her talent made her a household name, her journey has also been defined by her willingness to speak up about issues beyond entertainment. From her tireless advocacy for women's heart health to her candid acknowledgement of financial inequities in Hollywood, Streisand has consistently used her platform to push for change. Today, at 83, she remains a force whose influence goes beyond music and film, embodying resilience, advocacy, and determination. Advocacy for women's heart health. One of Barbra Streisand's most impactful contributions outside her legendary artistic career has been her commitment to raising awareness about women's heart health. For decades, cardiovascular disease was largely portrayed as a man's illness, leading to countless women being underdiagnosed, misdiagnosed, or undertreated. Streisand recognized this troubling gap and used her voice to draw attention to the reality that heart disease is the #1 killer of women worldwide. She has openly spoken about how women often experience symptoms differently from men, with warning signs such as fatigue, shortness of breath, or indigestion often being dismissed or overlooked by medical professionals. By making this issue central to her advocacy, Streisand reframed the conversation around women's health, ensuring that millions began to understand the seriousness of the problem. Her work has not only raised awareness, but also created a sense of urgency, proving that her voice carries equal power in matters of life and health as it does in song and film. Personal experiences and motivation. Streisand's advocacy is not born solely out of philanthropy, but also out of deeply personal experiences and observations. She has seen firsthand how loved ones and acquaintances were impacted by cardiovascular disease and has often spoken of the fear, grief, and frustration that comes with watching lives altered by something that could have been prevented or better treated. These experiences motivated her to act, transforming her personal concern into a mission that would extend far beyond her own circle. She has often described her advocacy as a responsibility rather than a choice, noting that her platform comes with influence, and influence must be used for good. By sharing her genuine emotions on this issue, Streisand connects with fans on a human level, breaking down the barrier between celebrity and everyday life. Her openness has inspired countless women to pay closer attention to their health, demand better treatment from their doctors, and recognize the importance of proactive medical care. Building the Barbra Streisand Women's Heart Center. The establishment of the Barbra Streisand Women's Heart Center at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles stands as a landmark achievement in her advocacy journey. The center represents more than a building with her name. It symbolizes a cultural and medical shift in how women's cardiovascular health is approached. The center provides patient care designed specifically for women, engages in cutting-edge research to better understand sex-specific risk factors, and educates medical professionals on the critical importance of gender-sensitive diagnostics. Streisand's direct involvement ensured that this center would not simply be a symbolic gesture, but a fully functioning institution dedicated to saving lives. Thousands of women have benefited from the research and treatment programs pioneered there, and the ripple effects extend globally as new standards of care begin to shift medical practices everywhere. Her ability to turn advocacy into lasting infrastructure reflects her belief that action, not words alone, creates change. The overlooked crisis of women's heart disease. Part of what makes Streisand's advocacy so vital is that it shines a light on an issue that has been historically overlooked. Heart disease kills more women each year than all cancers combined, yet for decades it received only a fraction of the attention, research funding, and awareness campaigns compared to other health concerns. Streisand has used her influence to challenge this imbalance, urging governments, organizations, and research institutions to prioritize women's cardiovascular health. Her activism underscores that raising awareness is only part of the battle. Systemic change is needed to ensure women are taken seriously when they present symptoms. By forcing this conversation into mainstream media and medical conferences alike, Streisand has redefined what celebrity-driven advocacy can achieve. Aging gracefully and public health conversations. At 83, Barbra Streisand has embraced the realities of aging with remarkable openness, humor, and grace. Instead of shying away from discussions about the challenges that come with age, she has used her voice to highlight the importance of health maintenance, self-advocacy, and regular medical checkups. Her willingness to address these topics publicly has helped dismantle the stigma surrounding aging and illness, especially for women who often feel invisible as they grow older. Streisand's ability to project strength while acknowledging vulnerability has resonated with her fans, many of whom have aged alongside her and find comfort in her example. She demonstrates that longevity is not just about adding years to life, but about ensuring those years are meaningful, purposeful, and filled with contribution. The emotional weight of advocacy. Behind her confident public statements lies the emotional weight of carrying such a responsibility. Advocacy for women's heart health is not simply a campaign for Streisand. It is a deeply emotional commitment that often brings her face to face with heartbreaking stories from women and families affected by cardiovascular disease. Each story fuels her determination, but also serves as a reminder of the human cost of inaction. By listening, empathizing, and amplifying these voices, Streisand shoulders a collective burden, ensuring that no woman's struggle goes unheard. Her empathy gives her advocacy authenticity, proving that her efforts are not about publicity, but about creating meaningful, human-centered change. Health, gender, and inequality. Barbra Streisand's commitment to women's heart health shines as one of the most important chapters of her later career, and it brings into focus a broader cultural issue: inequality in healthcare. For generations, women's symptoms were dismissed as stress, anxiety, or inconsequential ailments, while men's complaints were investigated with urgency and seriousness. This systemic bias led to delayed diagnoses and preventable deaths, leaving women uniquely vulnerable. Streisand has consistently used her platform to highlight this disparity, reminding audiences that the marginalization of women is not limited to paychecks or social standing. It extends deeply into medicine itself. Her advocacy draws an unflinching line between gender bias in healthcare and inequities women face in every facet of life, from workplace pay gaps to cultural expectations. By articulating this connection, she broadens the conversation beyond the hospital and into society, underscoring the truth that equality is only real when it touches every aspect of human existence. Music as healing and strength. For Streisand, music has never been simply a profession. It has been an emotional anchor and a vehicle for resilience. Even as she champions health advocacy, she acknowledges that singing provides her with a therapeutic release, a way to channel grief, hope, and determination. Audiences who have listened to her powerful voice over 6 decades have felt this same catharsis, finding in her music a companion through their own struggles. For Streisand herself, performance is a reminder of vitality, a form of healing that transcends the clinical focus of medicine. She treats music as inseparable from her advocacy, each driven by the same desire, to uplift, to inspire, and to empower. Whether in her recordings, live concerts, or quiet personal moments, music remains her way of processing life's challenges. To her fans, the connection is clear. Her songs are more than entertainment. They are acts of resilience and encouragement, inseparable from her mission to inspire healthier, fuller, and stronger lives. Redefining celebrity advocacy. In the modern entertainment landscape, countless celebrities attach their names to charitable causes, but few sustain their involvement with true depth or permanence. Many lend support through one-time donations, brief endorsements, or photo-ready public appearances. Barbra Streisand, however, has long distinguished herself as an exception to this trend. Her approach to advocacy is marked not by symbolism, but by structure, not by fleeting attention, but by enduring commitment. Streisand's dedication to women's heart health in particular highlights how far she is willing to go beyond the expected role of a celebrity philanthropist. What makes this achievement particularly significant is its permanence. Long after a celebrity's name fades from headlines, the infrastructure they leave behind can continue to transform lives. Streisand recognized this truth early, and she acted on it, ensuring that her contribution would endure as more than a gesture. Her actions redefine what it means for public figures to champion causes. She demonstrated that fame is not simply an opportunity for visibility, but a responsibility to use influence in ways that drive systemic, measurable change. By holding herself to such a high standard, Streisand has set a precedent for celebrity activism. She showed that meaningful advocacy requires sacrifice, time, money, and reputation, and that it demands consistency. For many cultural icons who may hesitate to become deeply involved in activism for fear of criticism or distraction from their careers, Streisand's work offers a bold counterexample. She proves that the integration of artistry and activism can enrich both, enhancing not only her legacy as an entertainer, but also her role as a social pioneer. Inspiring the next generation, Streisand's advocacy also carries weight far beyond the immediate impact of her projects. For younger artists, activists, and leaders, her example serves as a guidepost for how influence should be used. She embodies the idea that fame, when stripped of responsibility, is incomplete. By choosing women's heart health, a cause often neglected in both media and medicine, she demonstrated that true advocacy means addressing the issues that are invisible, uncomfortable, or marginalized. In doing so, she offered a lesson to future generations. The measure of one's platform is not its size, but how courageously it is applied. This duality, artist and activist, performer and advocate, ensures that Streisand's impact will reverberate long after her final performance. Her legacy is not confined to the records she sold or the awards she won, but extends to the cultural shifts she helped initiate. She has mentored through action, teaching that courage is not limited to taking the stage, but also to confronting systemic injustice. For those who follow, Streisand's life underscores a simple but powerful truth. Leadership is not about spotlight alone, but about what one chooses to illuminate with it. In her case, she illuminated the struggles of millions of women whose health was too often dismissed, And in doing so, she gave a generation of advocates permission to speak louder, fight harder, and expect better. Her influence ensures that the conversation she sparked will continue, carried forward by those who see in her not only an icon of song and cinema, but a beacon of conscience. Financial disparities in Hollywood. While Streisand's health advocacy has garnered admiration, her financial story within Hollywood is equally compelling and illuminating. Despite being one of the most successful entertainers of all time, she was not immune to the systemic inequities that plagued women in the entertainment industry. She has spoken candidly about being underpaid compared to male counterparts, even in projects where her contributions were central to success. A particularly striking example was her participation in the blockbuster sequel Meet the Fockers, part of the wildly successful Meet the Parents franchise. Despite the film's enormous commercial success, Streisand revealed that her compensation did not reflect either the project's profitability or her star power. By daring to share this truth, she highlighted the persistence of gender-based pay gaps in Hollywood, a problem that lingers despite decades of progress. Her candor was bold in a culture where financial inequities are often buried, and it reinforced her role as not just an entertainer, but a fearless truth-teller who refuses to accept injustice silently. The cost of creative freedom. Throughout her career, Streisand has demonstrated that creative freedom carries both rewards and costs. She often turned down projects with massive financial upside because they did not align with her artistic vision or personal integrity. For her, wealth was only meaningful if it came with the freedom to say no. In an industry where many stars accepted whatever roles secured their paychecks, Streisand carved a different path, prioritizing authenticity over profit. These decisions may have cost her short-term millions, but they preserved her long-term legacy as a woman who never compromised her standards. Creative freedom, as she embodied it, was not a luxury but a necessity, and though the financial sacrifices were real, the rewards of independence and integrity proved far more enduring. Balancing stardom with financial prudence. Streisand's financial story is equally defined by prudence and foresight. Unlike many contemporaries whose fortunes crumbled under the weight of reckless spending, she made decisions that safeguarded her wealth across decades. Real estate became one of her wisest investments, particularly her Malibu properties, which rose exponentially in value while serving as personal sanctuaries. She enjoyed luxuries but did so with restraint, ensuring that extravagance never tipped into wastefulness. Her ability to strike a balance between savoring her success and protecting her future reflected discipline rare in Hollywood. Streisand's example underscores a lesson relevant beyond celebrity culture. Financial security, even amid prosperity, requires humility, planning, and perspective. Financial advocacy as part of her legacy. Streisand's experiences with financial inequities did not stay confined to her personal story, they became part of her public advocacy. By discussing the pay gap she endured, she opened a window onto the broader systemic discrimination facing women across industries. Her insistence on fairness tied seamlessly to her other forms of advocacy, reminding the public that justice is not divisible. It must extend across health, finance, and society at large. In this way, her financial advocacy became another strand of her legacy, a continuation of her lifelong resistance to norms that minimized women's contributions. By leveraging her platform to speak truth to power, Streisand gave voice to issues many experienced but few dared to articulate, once again proving that her courage transcends the boundaries of performance. The human side of wealth and success. Despite her staggering financial achievements, Streisand has never allowed herself to become untouchable or aloof. She has shared the frustrations of feeling undervalued, revealing that even wealth does not erase the longing for fairness and recognition. This candor humanizes her story, allowing fans to see themselves reflected in her journey. In acknowledging that money cannot protect one from the sting of inequality, Streisand underscores the universality of dignity as a human need. Her openness about both success and struggle creates a fuller portrait of her life, one that resonates not only as inspiration, but as solidarity with those who face their own battles for recognition. The broader issue of gender pay gaps. Streisand's revelations about underpayment were not just personal complaints but reflections of a systemic imbalance across the entertainment industry. For decades, women in Hollywood were routinely paid less than men, regardless of their box office draw or professional accolades. Even Streisand, an actress and singer with an Academy Award, multiple Grammys, and international fame, encountered the glass ceiling of financial recognition. By highlighting her own experiences, Streisand amplified the conversation around pay equity, drawing attention to the reality that even the most accomplished women were undervalued. Her honesty offered validation to countless others in the industry who had faced similar struggles but lacked the security or influence to speak up. Streisand's candor thus became part of a larger movement, laying groundwork for the pay equity discussions that dominate Hollywood today. Lessons from financial struggles. Although she faced financial inequities, Streisand distinguished herself through her ability to turn challenges into lessons. Unlike many stars who blindly trusted studios, managers, or agents, she quickly recognized the importance of retaining control over her career and finances. She often chose projects not simply for their paychecks but for creative fulfillment, ensuring that artistic integrity was never compromised by short-term financial gain. Yet, when she encountered unfair treatment, she refused to accept it in silence. Streisand's willingness to speak out about inequities demonstrated resilience and set a precedent for others to follow. For her fans and aspiring performers, her story became an example of empowerment, teaching that financial independence and self-advocacy are just as crucial as artistic talent. In an industry notorious for exploiting its stars, Streisand proved that careful planning and self-determination could protect both one's craft and one's wallet. A net worth built on versatility. Despite inequities and frustrations, Barbra Streisand's financial status today reflects extraordinary resilience and adaptability. With an estimated net worth of $400 million, she ranks among the wealthiest entertainers in the world, a position earned through hard work, versatility, and reinvention. Her fortune was not the product of a single career path, but rather her mastery of multiple arenas: music, acting, directing, producing, and live performance. Streisand sold millions of albums across decades, performed in sold-out tours that shattered box office records, and transitioned seamlessly between music and film. Her career highlights include directing critically acclaimed movies, starring in timeless films, and creating albums that have topped charts worldwide. Unlike many artists who fade after their peak, Streisand remained relevant across 6 decades, ensuring steady income streams and a financial legacy as enduring as her artistic one. Business ventures and financial acumen. Beyond her entertainment career, Streisand displayed sharp financial acumen in managing business ventures, real estate, and investments. She developed an eye for valuable assets, purchasing properties in Malibu that grew exponentially in value over time. These properties not only gave her comfort and privacy, but also long-term security, becoming some of the most coveted real estate holdings in California. She also pursued ventures carefully, aligning them with her values and public image, rather than chasing trends or quick profits. By exercising caution and foresight, Streisand avoided the financial pitfalls that ensnared many of her peers. Her approach showed that she was not only an artist, but also a savvy businesswoman capable of navigating complex financial decisions. In an era when women were often excluded from such matters, Streisand's independence and intelligence allowed her to oversee and expand her fortune on her own terms. Struggles with recognition and respect. Financial challenges for Streisand were not limited to contracts or projects. They also extended to the ongoing struggle for recognition and respect in an industry often reluctant to fully embrace her authority. As a woman directing films in the 1980s and 1990s, she encountered resistance from executives who questioned her decisions or undervalued her contributions. These barriers had financial implications, often limiting the budgets she was granted or the back-end profits she could secure. While male directors were routinely celebrated and rewarded, Streisand had to fight for every opportunity to prove herself. This struggle highlights the connection between respect and financial opportunity, showing that inequities in Hollywood were not just about paychecks, but about systemic undervaluation of women's leadership. The cost of creative freedom. Barbra Streisand's career has always been defined by her uncompromising pursuit of excellence, even when that choice came with financial consequences. From her earliest days in the industry, she was unafraid to say no to projects that did not align with her artistic values or personal integrity. Hollywood often presented her with lucrative opportunities, but Streisand was guided by a principle stronger than money: authenticity. She turned down high-paying roles, declined to attach her name to films that lacked depth, and resisted pressure to conform to industry expectations that sought to limit her voice as a woman and an artist. This insistence on creative freedom distinguished her from many of her peers, who often prioritized immediate financial gain over long-term integrity. For Streisand, financial independence was not merely about amassing wealth, but about retaining the power to make choices without compromise. While such decisions sometimes cost her millions in lost paychecks, they ultimately preserved the strength of her brand, the respect of her audience, and her reputation as a trailblazer. In the long arc of her career, Streisand proved that the cost of creative freedom was an investment in legacy, one that secured her place as one of the most respected artists of all time. Balancing stardom with financial prudence. Unlike many stars who succumbed to the temptations of extravagance, Streisand developed a careful relationship with money. She enjoyed the rewards of her hard work, from luxurious Malibu homes to world-class collections, but she balanced that indulgence with caution and foresight. She invested in real estate, choosing properties that not only provided privacy and beauty, but also grew exponentially in value over time. Her Malibu compound, for instance, became both a sanctuary and a financial anchor. Streisand avoided reckless spending, opting instead for a lifestyle that reflected elegance rather than waste. She cultivated savings, protected her earnings, and ensured that her fortune remained intact through the highs and lows of Hollywood. This balance between success and prudence safeguarded her from the financial pitfalls that consumed many of her contemporaries, who often ended up bankrupt despite equally successful careers. Streisand's example offers a valuable lesson. Financial security, even at the height of fame, requires discipline, perspective, and the humility to plan for the future. Financial advocacy as part of her legacy. Streisand's experiences with financial inequity transformed her into an advocate not only for herself, but for women across industries. She spoke openly about being underpaid in Hollywood, even in commercially successful projects like Meet the Fockers. For many, her candor was groundbreaking. Few women of her era dared to expose the inequities of pay in a system where speaking up often meant being sidelined. Streisand's courage aligned her with broader movements for workplace equality, long before those movements became mainstream headlines. By demanding fair compensation, she reframed conversations around value, recognition, and justice in entertainment. Her voice carried the weight of experience, demonstrating that systemic inequities existed even for the most decorated and bankable female stars. In doing so, she encouraged younger performers to push back against exploitation and to demand what they deserved. Streisand's advocacy for pay equity became part of her larger legacy of challenging norms, proof that her influence extended far beyond her artistry, touching the cultural and financial foundations of Hollywood itself. the human side of wealth and success. Despite her extraordinary financial standing, Streisand has always presented herself with a rare vulnerability that humanizes her wealth and fame. She has spoken openly about moments when she felt undervalued or dismissed, showing that even the most successful artists can struggle with recognition and fairness. Her willingness to discuss inequities and frustrations revealed a human side, often concealed by celebrity gloss. For her fans, this honesty was refreshing. It bridged the gap between superstar and everyday woman. Streisand's story reminded audiences that wealth does not erase the need for dignity, respect, and equality. Money can buy comfort, but it cannot resolve the deep need to be valued for one's contributions. By sharing her struggles, she inspired countless women to see their own worth and to advocate for themselves in professional and personal settings. Her story is proof that wealth and success, while enviable, do not exempt anyone from the universal pursuit of respect and fairness. The price of being a pioneer. Streisand's financial struggles must also be viewed within the context of her pioneering career. As one of the first women to direct major Hollywood films, she faced resistance that had both creative and financial consequences. Budgets for her projects were scrutinized, her authority was questioned, and her access to opportunities was limited compared to her male peers. These barriers often reduced the financial rewards she could reap, despite her immense talent and proven track record. Yet rather than backing down, Streisand persevered, breaking through walls and paving the way for future generations of female directors and producers. The price of being a pioneer was steep, but Streisand's resilience demonstrated that barriers, while real, were not insurmountable. A net worth reflecting resilience. Today, Streisand's estimated net worth of $400 million stands as a testament not only to her extraordinary talent, but also to her endurance. Unlike many entertainers whose fortunes rise and fall with the trends, Streisand sustained her success for over 6 decades, adapting to new audiences, technologies, and platforms. She sold millions of albums, directed critically acclaimed films, performed sold-out tours, and cultivated a reputation for excellence that transcended generations. Her wealth is the result of diversification: music, film, directing, producing, and real estate. Not a single stroke of luck. It reflects a life of reinvention, determination, and careful stewardship of her career. Streisand's financial legacy is proof that resilience, creativity, and discipline can withstand even the inequities of Hollywood. Real estate as financial security. One of Streisand's most astute financial decisions was her investment in real estate, particularly her Malibu properties. These homes became more than places to live. They became financial anchors that grew in value and offered long-term security. In interviews, she often described her Malibu estate not just as an asset, but as a sanctuary, a space where she could recharge, create, and host loved ones. Real estate became both a personal refuge and a professional strategy, ensuring that her wealth extended beyond the fluctuations of the entertainment industry. Her foresight in this area cemented her financial independence, proving once again her ability to blend artistry with acumen, health advocacy, and its financial dimension. Alongside her financial journey, Streisand has been a tireless advocate for women's heart health, a cause deeply tied to her personal values. She co-founded the Barbra Streisand Women's Heart Center at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles, funding research and treatments specifically tailored to women. While this commitment is primarily a matter of compassion and activism, it also reflects the intersection of wealth and responsibility. Streisand recognized that her financial success gave her the power to drive change, to fund research that might otherwise have been ignored, and to amplify awareness for millions of women worldwide. In this sense, her health advocacy is inseparable from her financial story. Her fortune allowed her to leave a legacy not just of music and film, but of life-saving progress in medicine. Current status: health, wealth, and legacy. As of 2025, Barbra Streisand stands as a living testament to resilience, balance, and purpose. At 83 years old, she continues to advocate for women's health while enjoying the security of a net worth that reflects 6 decades of achievement. Married to actor James Brolin, she enjoys personal fulfillment alongside professional triumphs, embodying stability in an industry known for volatility. Her legacy is not just her unmatched collection of awards, Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony, but also her insistence on fairness, her protection of creative freedom, and her ability to use wealth for good. Streisand has shown that success is not measured solely in dollars or accolades, but in the ability to inspire change, to uplift others, and to remain true to oneself. She is both a legend of stage and screen, and a voice for justice, health, and empowerment. At a stage in life when many retreat from public engagement, Streisand continues to demonstrate that age is not a limitation, but a platform for deeper influence.